There's a very interesting and important trend in media which relates to the fact that not only is the mental body the body of perspective, the most individual body within the three bodies, the heart, the heart emotional body, the physical body, and the mental body. It is the mental body that has the most separate distinction from all other people, because the mental body is not only having different experiences in a different location, uh, populated by different beliefs. We can all be living in the same weather and thus share a physical body experience. Our emotional body all responds to things in largely similar ways. But what we are responding to depends a great deal in an information age on what we are thinking about, which makes connection on a mental body level the most challenging. It is therefore in that parable of to walk a mile in another's footsteps more important than ever in sharing intimacy. Into me, you see, is actually to share media. And it is largely a conscious choice because there is simply so much media out there. When you've got 500 channels on TV running 24/7, you're going to choose one at a time. And there's someone else in the next house in the same weather who's going to choose another. And so this actual introduction into media is one of the few ways, and it is now a conscious choice, where people can share the same world. Audible has changed my relationship with media because it allows my body to move around while consuming media, which cannot be done with TV, etc. So having 500 books on my phone about things that I'm interested in that are, like this 8 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 19 hours, 10 hours. It's an average of 10 hours for these, these books. And Unabridged, I just want to share some of the highlights relating to trauma and community, etc., which has been of great interest to me. I'm moving through this book, Transforming Trauma, with Carolyn Myss and James Finley, and one of the things that she's exploring is she's helping me understand the grief of spiritual death and of spiritual abortion as an aspect of trauma, which is the first source that has validated. It's the first external source, because I've been exploring this wave of, a 500% increase in emotional, mental dis-ease moving then through the adrenals into the body in a way that my paradigms did not anticipate. And my politics and sense of ethics did not anticipate the abortion. So this is one of the windows into this area here. At the same time, Tom Rath is one of my favorite authors. in having a unique set of analytical strengths that is taking him into areas that have more and more to do with human well-being. And so I've enjoyed his books, Strength Finders and Strength Finder 2.0, and several of his other books that I've forgotten, which help me articulate things such as my strengths in analyzing talent. But just the ideas of, what I'm really watching in this book is the way single relationships pivot, an upturn or a downturn in people's lives. And yet we're in a culture that when companies think of downsizing or upsizing or moving or this or that, the focus is on the money and on the accounting. But it looks like the focus needs to be far more on, work where you have a good relationship, or move where you have a good relationship, as opposed to, moving around based on interests and income at the cost of vital relationships. He's exploring health and stuff here. The intelligent body is, just a mixture of, I would say what it's helped me understand is that chronic fatigue is a description that leads to a rational question: what are we chronically doing to exhaust ourselves? And one of the big insights here is the idea that what we're doing is the part of our dis-ease that is internalized from the culture is fighting the part of us that is not sick by the culture, that is seeking to emerge and to grow. So the culture is seeking to suppress everything that is not culturally appropriate, but who we are is seeking to express and release and become conscious of all that we are, which creates a battle, which is exhausting. Terence McKenna turned me on to Carl Jung in reference to the fact that it can be confusing to take psychedelics and not understand the elements of projection and transposing. Now, the book that Terence McKenna recommended is not available on Audible. And this gets into environment, because the fact that I listen to 100 Audible books a year, but read one book a year, particularly not, since dealing with all this trauma, it's so uncomfortable to be still in my body and focus on the left brain that, but listening to a voice. So I've moved into Carl Jung with what is on Audible. So this is where environment plays in, because there are more effective books out there in instances, but I'm reading the best that is available in the medium that I can digest it, which is Audible. And so it's a very interesting book on power and the politics of power, the politics of talking about power. But basically, it's a very powerful insight into the role of wealth and environment, and explores a lot of the life of Robert Moses, who has been one of the most powerful forces in aspects of New York infrastructure without election. Very interesting insight into how and why decisions happen, how families are broken apart, again, by environment. just interesting questions and stuff here. Tony is, in so many ways, this is the reason we need third people, because you know, as is often the case, a guru, a teacher, an advocate has decided to enter an arena and villainizes all these different fees that get charged in our accounting. But there's, of course, if you took the financial, you know, so he's basically helping one sort through all of the hidden costs in banking and you know, and investments, which do eat dramatically into one's portfolio. But Tony charges thousands of dollars for his, you know, workshops and stuff like that, which also eat substantially into one's portfolio. And so there's always an interesting paradox in things like that. Stealing Fire, an interesting exploration of altered states. In deeply dissociated places, going into dimensional terrains with authors is a way to feel connected with human beings in the terrain that I'm actually in. And so Magicians of the Gods, Fingerprints of the Gods, this one was my favorite, Supernatural. And again, just going into, I came into these books because they were banned on TED. And once you get a sense of things, you realize that a great deal of mediocrity is happily tolerated, but something that is truly revolutionary will get banned, even if it's very solidly. I mean, there's a great deal of science in these two folks, Rupert Sheldrake, who I actually met when I was 13 at Findhorn. And I was very interested to see that his TED Talk was one of the few TED Talks in the world to be banned. So I instantly upgraded, and anything that was banned on TED I knew would be interesting. And sure enough, I found Graham Hancock banned for his talk on the war on consciousness. So it's very interesting to see that. Shamans of all kinds. I don't agree with 60% of the way any shaman slices their distinctions. But here's the thing. You need consciousness. And in order to create consciousness in the way that we understand consciousness, you need language and you need to slice things. To distinguish this from this is what brings consciousness into the space. Because if you just say reality, just say the word reality, you're not conscious of anything. But if I say, look at the gray and white pattern here, you are immediately aware of this. My saying the gray and white pattern here, as opposed to here, has immediately created consciousness out of nothing for you. But of course, once your consciousness gets in there, it says, no, 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 that's not a gray and white pattern. Look at the leaf and the circle. You slice it differently. But you've got to be drawn into the terrain before you can slice it in your own unique way. And so that's what I'm doing with shaman material, is I let them draw me into terrains that I'm unconscious about. And then I re-slice things in my own language, but keeping the consciousness. So their gift to me is the consciousness. My gift to myself is reinventing the terrain in my own language. And this is a fellow who's brought me into terrain that no other shaman has brought me into. And so that's its gift. And consciousness is the most powerful medicine in any arena. It's one of the reasons that doing the high documentary has been very powerful, is the focus on consciousness.